have been some pretty serious changes around here in the last week. They started drilling a well and are making some pretty decent progress. The last couple of days I have spent inside a skid steer moving around dirt and footing for the horses' new permanent dry lots. It took me a few days to figure out the machine, but once I had all the controls down, I was able to move at a pretty quick pace. I've got the skid steer for a few more days and I am going to try and get all of the footing down that was delivered. We had 265 ton of footing delivered and I'm just about done spreading it around. It's been extra hot, so when I take breaks I make sure to check on all of the horses. After one of Nigel's old man walks, he decided that he wanted to take a few little drinks straight from the hose. With all of the commotion around here, Tiny has been staying in her secret tree. The horses and Ivar don't seem to be too disrupted by all of the noise from the drilling. The heat wave was pretty hard on my blueberry and strawberry plants. The sunflowers, however, are loving the extra heat. The midday sun is pretty unpleasant, but when the sun starts going down, it is the perfect temperature. This morning they are coming to get the skid steer that I rented and will be dropping off the tractor. I did have it serviced. I've got a few more hours of work and if I hurry I am going to be able to get it all done. The material I bought is crusher fines. It's the same stuff I put down where Sparkler's pen is. When I got material delivered in the fall, I thought I was getting enough to basically do around the whole Homestead building, but that just didn't happen. To make this stuff last, you really want to get a base that's a couple inches thick. Otherwise, it just sinks into the ground, or when the horses walk on it, it mixes with the dirt and you just have slop. I got all of the material distributed before they dropped off the tractor and picked up the skid steer. Late last night, I did go out and pick up a load of hay because I was almost out, so I'm going to move it around this morning. It looks like it might rain, so I better get it tucked away. With all of the extra commotion around here, Huckleberry seems to be extra worried about Ivar. He's had a very close eye on him the last couple of days.
Good boy.
Since I was pretty much on the skid steer for the last week, I haven't had a whole lot of time to work with Bruce. Prim and Bruce did get a smaller pen for the first couple of days while the driller was here. Nigel was also hanging out in a small pen next to them, but yesterday I did finally open up their pen again. Bruce does get a little bit annoyed when I don't go in and handle him every single day, several times during the day. I think it was good to put him back in a smaller pen because he was having a little bit of trouble with his legs. It has been a little bit hard to balance the amount of exercise he's getting as he grows. One thing that I don't think I've mentioned yet is that I was going to have a farrier come out and trim some of the horses. I reached out to one that was going to be working on Sweet Pea. I'm pretty bummed that there was nothing we could do to help Sweet Pea. With all of the work I have to get done around here, I finally decided that I should start contracting out at least some of my chores. The way the horses' hooves have been reacting to this drier environment is so much different than it is in Montana. I've always trimmed my horses that I picked up from auction that are maybe a little bit too squirrely or lack the confidence to be handled by a regular farrier. Over the last couple of years, I've got really into rehabbing different hoof problems. I've gained a lot of knowledge that helps me when I'm at horse sales picking out horses. I can pretty confidently trim most horses, even the ones that have problems with their hooves. Over the last couple of years, I have been having a lot more trouble with my back. I really enjoy trimming my own horse's feet, but it's been taking a much harder toll on my body these days. Sometimes it can be really tricky finding a good farrier, so I decided to have one come out and trim all of the boys. Stewie and Studman have never been trimmed by another human before their entire lives. Big Gus and Pete do have some pre-existing trauma, but they were superstars. All of the boys were super good, even with all of the commotion from the well. I really like the farrier. He got along really good with the horses, so he's going to be coming back and trimming the horses more regularly. I'll probably always trim Nigel, and Scarlett can be very suspicious of new people, especially around her hind legs. But all of the other horses are perfectly well behaved for strangers, so it'll be really nice to take that off my plate. A week ago, I wasn't exactly sure how the layout of the dry lots was going to be. I got in a groove, moving around the footing and making some flat spots for the shelters. And now I'm feeling a whole lot better about how things are turning out. The drillers had some setback with the type and amount of rock that they were hitting, but after a week of drilling, we finally got down to a pretty significant amount of water. They are going to be back on Monday, but it was the perfect way to end the week. It'll probably be another week until we can actually use the water. Seeing the amount of water it's producing should be more than enough for the house and all of the horses. I made a quick trip into town and found myself in the middle of a plant clearance for the year. I took it as a sign to buy a few things to landscape around the new horse pens. I'm not sure how much I'm going to get done this year, but it's really starting to come together, and in a few months I think this is going to look completely different.
Let's check on our plants.
After the pretty intense heat wave, it was pretty exciting to see rain in the forecast for the next 10 days. I haven't been able to mow any of the big weeds because it's been so dry. I'm trying my very hardest not to spray anything because I don't want it to drift onto my garden. There are a few really large patches of wild licorice that create some pretty big cockleburs I don't want getting stuck in the horses' coats. With all of the rain in the forecast, I want to get them knocked down before they go to seed. I've had a few minor setbacks in the garden, but it looks like a lot of my beets and radishes are coming up. I'm anxiously awaiting for the first tomatoes to ripen. The zucchinis are still producing a lot every day. I'm not sick of eating them yet, but I am looking for recipes if you guys have any.
Oh no, what happened? Huckleberry, get out of here. Come on,
Ivar has honestly turned into a little pest in the garden. Mostly he just likes to supervise and get underfoot.
Oh my gosh. Look at these. They grew up overnight, Huckleberry.
I've never had a very big garden before, and this is the first time I'm growing pumpkins. It's kind of crazy how quickly they're growing, and I'm guessing with little sprinkles every day they are going to explode. This is the bed that has all of the plants from my little jug experiment this winter. They're still a little bit behind, but they are definitely catching up very quickly. I'm not sure if this is normal, but I haven't been seeing any actual pumpkins on the vines. I haven't noticed a lot of pollinators around here. I should have probably planted more flowers. The zinnias are growing, but I've been snipping off their heads so they'll produce more flowers later on. I'm thinking that I might have to pollinate some of these myself. As soon as I decided to take over for Mother Nature, I saw that there was a bee very busily in the flowers. It looks like I'm not going to have to pollinate these after all.
Come on.
I'm not exactly sure how many different varieties of zinnia I planted, but there are a bunch. I'm ready for them to bloom, and I think by next week we should see some really pretty flowers. Speaking of blooming, little Brucey is looking totally different these days. His coat has gotten so much darker just over the last week. It still feels like he does have quite a bit of his baby fuzz left. It's kind of cool to see him dappling out and getting a nice sooty buckskin color.
And what is that? Piece of horse hoof? Okay, here.
I thought I cleaned up all of the hoof trimmings from the Farrier, but it looks like Huckleberry found some. The driller is pretty darn loud, and I'm really surprised that none of the horses seem to mind. It was a very expensive setback for us this year, but I'm glad we only had to do one hole, and we are going to be having a well that produces so much more water than we have now. I cut it really close with the last hay pickup. I just stacked it outside because I wanted to make sure that I had enough space to tie up all of the horses for the farrier. With rain on the horizon, I do need to get it under cover so it's not ruined. The horses go through hay pretty quickly, and I don't think it's going to rain enough to make it moldy, but getting wet definitely leaches some of the nutrients out of the hay. It's kind of crazy to think that all of this was filled with crusher fines a week ago. I put in a little road so the horses can go into this new dry lot when I finally have it done. There was a pretty big step up from the driveway down to the regular ground, so this should be way easier for me to drive in and out. I didn't have enough time to really clean up the edges or get the ground ready for me to reseed the grass. We thought really hard about just getting a skid steer instead of the tractor, but they are significantly more expensive. I wasn't a huge fan of the Kubota that I rented, so I might visit the Bobcat store and see if they have any used machines I can rent. It looks like they have a pretty good deal on monthly rentals, and I know I'll be able to get so much more done if I had one for another 4 weeks. I did get most of the pads laid down to put up new shelters for the horses. That is the next big project on my list, and I'm pretty excited to get going on it. We won't get snow for a while, but it's definitely in the back of my mind. This load of hay did get drizzled on a little bit. It dried out very quickly, and it looks like I'm going to have just enough time to put it under cover before the rain gets here. I kind of like having the old Homestead building available to tie horses up, so for this load I'm going to see how many I can fit inside one of these Shelter Logic setups. When I build some of the horse shelters, I'm going to have them be dual purpose in order to hold hay. I would really like to have enough storage space to hold all of the horses' hay for the winter time. The weather here wasn't too bad last winter, but In the event that we do have a really big snow year, I don't want to be driving a truck and trailer loaded down with hay if I can prevent it. I'm hoping I'll be able to fit around 12 bales in one of these little shelters. That'll be about 6 weeks of hay for these horses. My producer was right in the middle of haying a bunch of fields, and with this crazy weather, he could only squeeze me in to get one load of hay. This small load will give me a good idea if I'll be able to use these Shelter Logic covers for hay storage though. It's a little bit tricky to maneuver these big bales without damaging the shelter, but I do think I can fit 10 to 12 inside. I have a few little plants I bought early in the season that I can put out in the landscaping, but when I saw these rose bushes, I just could not turn them down. I also wanted to get some figs for over in the garden. We had a nice little sprinkle that'll make it safe for me to mow some of the weeds. Unfortunately, right when I was getting to the biggest patches, the belt slipped off the mower. While I was waiting for my husband to bring me a screwdriver, I also realized that it was in fact Saturday and not Friday. So unfortunately, this week's video was a little bit shorter than I had originally anticipated. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.